Hello, welcome to those watching this interview on YouTube or Facebook. I am here today with Debbie Pryor, an author of a children's book called Movements of Magicalness. And here it is. It's been published in 2020, and she's just starting to move out in the world and present her beautiful book. So I've got some questions to ask Debbie. Debbie is currently in New Zealand and I'm currently in Australia. So we're meeting on Zoom and meeting deeply in a heart space as well. So Debbie, could you share about your life and how it has you here right now as the author of a children's book? I've written some points down for you to elaborate on. So you're a mum. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a son who's now 24, but I've always been the big earth mama. Wherever I've been, there's always children around me. I looked after all our community kids for years, and I just love the innocence, but the innate wisdom of children and young adults. And we think we're here to teach our children. Well, I would say our children are here to teach us. Every generation has something beautiful to bring to the previous generation, and that's something that's always fascinated me.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a child at heart as well. I still have very worldly wise, but have an incredible childlike innocence still. The way I see the world and the earth and who we are and how we're all connected, and really just knowing the magic and the mystery that is here all the time in this life. And really that's what inspires me, and that's what actually brought me to here now, and to New Zealand, and to writing this book, and a couple of other books I've written as well. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mum to one and to every other one as well. Totally. So I also know you from attending retreats in New Zealand, and I know that you're a deep spiritual person, and your book has this spirituality that is just gorgeous. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? Introduce your experience and knowing and calling of spirituality in your life.
Yeah, that's
a big question.
A vast question. It's like, oh my God, where do I start? Well, I would say that we are all the one divine light. We're all the one love that moves on this earth. We're intrinsically connected to everything that lives, moves, breathes, and brings life to this earth. And I'm sitting here and I've got these beautiful little, they're called piwakas. Piwaka waka is the Māori name for them. These little birds, and they're just flying around and they're communing, and I can feel their delight for this that's taking place. And I was always, as a child, I guess I was always a seeker. I was always, there's more to life than what we see here. There's more to life than this world. There's more to life than this school. There's more to life than this job, but I didn't know what it was or how to find it.
Yeah.
And so of course I went the worldly route, the party route, the big job route, but never lost this this innocence of questioning of there's more to life. And I was blessed many years ago to come across a very beautiful being of realized consciousness, and that the moment I met this being, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is the link that was missing, you know? And just the magic started to really open in me. And over, 30 years, I've been looking into, you know, what is this life about? Who are we? What are we? And I really hope that this has come through in the book. Is for the young, and you know, the young adults, the children, even the parents, the grandparents, the aunties, whoever it is that comes in contact with this book will find something in it that opens that, wow, you know, what is here? What do we have here? And we can all connect to this essence that is who we are. And it's almost like, what I see is, you know, the more we wake up to, wow, there's something more here, is like this crystal web over the earth, and we're all connected by this beautiful, electric, magical crystal web that we're all communing and loving and connecting.
Oh yeah, when you speak that, I'm knowing that from the book. Like, I can see how you've actually written that into the pages of the book, and with the illustrations. It's completely there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Lee. And that was my intention, was to share this. And you know, the book actually, the spark of the book, it was conceived in South Africa. And Movements of Magicalness is based on a moving meditation that we teach around the world called CosmoForm. And a group of CosmoForm teachers went to South Africa to meet and commune and share our hearts with beautiful projects and beautiful people in the townships in South Africa. What an amazing trip that was. Just incredible. And the book came out of that. It was one day in particular where my heart was just broken over and over and over again by the dire circumstances of the people we were meeting, but the incredible depth of the heart of the children, of the grannies, of the gardeners, of, you know, amazing that the one light that we are was connecting in the homeless shelters, you know, in the drug rehab places, in the schools. It was just amazing. And one night, I'd cried all day long, having met all these amazing people. And then I was exhausted and just going to sleep. And then this book started to arrive, and I was like, oh my God, I need a pen. I need to write this down. And it arrived in about half an hour.
Wow.
But over the years, it's changed. It's interesting because it started off with 2 characters who went all the way through the book. And then when I met the illustrator, and when we inquired into, well, what is this life about? And what are the concerns? What are the connections? Then more characters started to arrive, and more world issues arrived. So it was really interesting how it had a life of its own, and it kind of grew and changed and evolved over 7 years. So it's taken 7 years.
Wow, that's extraordinary, Deb. Wow, 7 years. Birth of a Bubba for 7 years.
Amazing.
So there's another theme that I noticed in your book. Could you speak about your other work, that you work in a chocolate factory? Could you speak about how that is woven into your book, and how that's influenced what you have written in your book?
I mean, chocolate's always been a great love of mine. And you know, I'm blessed.
Hello.
And I'm blessed to live in a community here in New Zealand where we run a boutique chocolate making business. And we have a chocolate kitchen that I work in, just 1 day a week now. And I've been involved in markets and selling the chocolate and eating vast amounts of it as well. But, you know, the journey that we've had is like in the book, there's more to chocolate than what seems to be in the Cadbury's bar, or, you know, in our cheap chocolate snacks. You know, there's more to it than this. And this has been a journey that we've been on, is to look deeper into what is the magic of chocolate. You know, what is in it, what is the mystery and the magic of cacao. And the more we looked into it, the more we found what an incredible plant cacao is. And, you know, the medicinal qualities, the feel-good factor of chocolate. And, you know, pretty much most people, I would say, like chocolate. There's a few who don't, but that's all good. Yeah, so one thing I discovered when I was reading a lot about cacao was there's a Mayan prophecy which says when humanity has lost its way and is desperate and fearful, cacao will come out of the forest to open the hearts of humanity for them to discover the new way. Something like that. And, you know, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. That is so true. You know, like real good quality cacao is coming more onto the market. You know, sustainable businesses. We work with cooperatives, so the farmers get recognized, they get the money that they deserve for their crops, and they're also being taught to really value what they have, rather than big corporations coming in and just buying up. We need your beans. And you know, that there's more of an education, and there's a working together to really grow that sustainable heart-based way of business. And of course, because that is so much of focus in my life, of course, Panina, who is the character, she's a young Samoan lady, and she lives on a cacao plantation in Samoa where we visited. Panina is just a made-up name. You know, it actually means pearl in Samoan. And she communes with her trees. Her trees have secrets to share with her. They have wisdom, and she looks after them, and they look after her. And this is what I got from being with the Samoan culture when we visited and we stayed on a plantation. And this was the wisdom and the knowledge that I received from being there with the people that grow and consume the cacao. And so I was like, this has to be in the book. You know, we have to bring a young lady in. And there she is.
I can see why you've woven that into the pages of your book, that beautiful earth-based connection to ancient and present day wisdom. Totally.
Absolutely. And she's moving with one of the movements. You know, she's moved because this is the place in the stillness when she's looking in and she's feeling in her body, and she's feeling the sensations in her body, and she's knowing a greater stillness, and she's more present. She's not out thinking about things and worrying about things. She's in her body, and in this place the communion with the trees is stronger. And that's really the message from that page in the book.
That's beautiful. I'm going to read some pages in a minute. I want to ask you one more question. You also mentioned that Deb is a resident of New Zealand, so I'd love to hear how it come to be that you're in New Zealand. And I also noticed that there's a lot of references in your book to New Zealand mythology, ancestry, and even the beings of New Zealand. Beautiful mythological, or there might be another word that's better, but I can't think of it right now. But if you'd like to speak a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I was born and raised in London in the UK,
Yeah.
and in my 20s, I think. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was my early 30s, sometime back then,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was passionate about Greenpeace and the work that Greenpeace did. And I was really blessed to have an opportunity to work with them as supporting the area of central London. And it was during the anti-nuclear campaigns. And I met a lot of New Zealanders, a lot of Kiwis, and a lot of Aussies, because, of course, it was in the South Pacific. And, they were very concerned about their oceans and about their countries and about what was happening. And in that moment, I remember I met this beautiful Maori man who was organizing music events to support this. And there was such a magic about this man. He was so beautiful and so real and so heart-based. And New Zealand seems such a long way away and on the other side of the world. To me, didn't really know anything about it. But I knew at that time, with the work that I was doing with Greenpeace and meeting all these beautiful people from the Southern Hemisphere, that I would end up here. And along the way with this beautiful teacher that I met, and we just ended up coming to New Zealand, and I knew this country, I knew this land, I was in this land, like Papatūānuku, who is the Earth Mother in Māori. I knew her. And this to me was the first time we came, and when the plane was leaving to go to Australia, as we left the tarmac in Christchurch, I burst into tears and it just came out of nowhere, and I just cried and cried and cried. And I knew in that moment that I would return, and this is where my home would be. And this is what's happened. So it's a very, very beautiful, beautiful country with incredible, I don't know, it just has there's a mystery here. And I know you can find mystery all over the world, but for me, the mystery is deep, deep, deep in the earth and deep in my veins. And there was such a deep connection. And so I've been blessed to be in a beautiful community here for 16 years, where our calling is to live life consciously, with awareness, heart-based, and to live in the present moment rather than projecting to the future, going into the past, but to really discover the richness of this moment. And I really hope that is also another message that comes through the book, is through the movements of magicalness. It brings you into this place of pure presence where the mystery is. Everything is here that we can connect with who we are and who each of us is and what we discover.
Beautiful. And the movements of magicalness, when did you learn these? And I know that they're in the book, you've made them be something that is suitable for children to relate to. Could you talk a bit about when you first learned them? And you mentioned that you went to South Africa teaching these movements. Just share a little bit about how that is been in your life.
There's something called the form reality practice, which is, you'll know the form, which is something that I've been around for about 25 years. And I had tried to meditate years and years and years ago and couldn't sit still enough, couldn't stop my mind. And I'm a fidget, It's like, I can't do this. This is boring. That was then, And what was so beautiful about discovering the form is that it's a moving meditation. So I could move, but I
Yeah.
could move as the stillness. And
Yeah.
that fascinated me because it captured me. And I was like, wow, I can move as this stillness. And then I discovered through these movements that I'm actually, there is no body moving. There's no body moving. There's spirit, there's energy, there's frequency, there's love, there's light, and that is who I am. You know? And wow, that was an amazing discovery. And CosmoForm, which was like a little offshoot from the form, came in for the shift around 2012, and it was downloaded by the man that brought the form to this earth. CosmoForm came to him and he was like, this is for this time, and we need to just get it out there and share it. And I know it as a universal prayer. I know it as not in a religious sense, but I know it as this is a universal prayer. You know, this is connecting with all that is the universe. This is pure potential. This is who we are, everything that we can be. And we can bring that down. And then we have this lovely little heart-shaped diamond that we bring to our hearts. So we're bringing all of that we are into our hearts, which is the doorway, and then to the earth. And we open our hands and bring that to the earth. And when we took CosmoForm to South Africa, we took it into the most beautiful drug rehab with young Muslim men who had been very, very damaged by very hard drugs. And they were in this beautiful heart-based rehab center, and we took CosmoForm in there, and they just couldn't believe it. They were like, oh, I'm knowing God, you know, and Allah or whoever, you know, and they would call it the rock. They called it the rocket because it takes you there instantly. If you close your eyes and just bring all that you are to your heart, it takes you there instantly. And
so my question pops up is how, so you've made this movement meditation CosmoForm become the thread in your book for children. So could you talk about children and CosmoForm and how that came to be within the book?
I wrote another book many years ago, just after the big earthquake that we had here in Christchurch, and our kids were quite young then. And we had a big red bus that we used to take chocolate and hot chocolate around the city to places where people had been. Oh my gosh, it was great. Like people devastated and shattered, and there was no electricity, and we had this bus rocking around sharing chocolate and hot chocolate. And I wrote a book about that, and about the bus and about discovering that you know, even in dire circumstances, adverse conditions, that we can still discover the depth of who we are. And our kids were my son, I think, was about 13, and you know, it at the time it really quite affected him. And because we were getting aftershocks for 6 to 9 months afterwards, so it was, you never knew when the next one was coming, and just when you thought it was all over, another one would arrive, you know. And CosmoForm really helped to still that my son would call it fizzy energy. He said, Mom, I've got such fizzy energy. And then when we did CosmoForm, that would actually bring him into the heart and just still that fizzy energy, and really help him to be calm once more, and to meet his strength and to know his courage, to face whatever he had to face. And I know that there are many situations in this world where children are faced with very challenging situations, whether it's in the home, whether it's in their culture, whether it, whatever it is.
Mm.
And excuse me, and to be able to share these magical movements for all of us
Yeah.
to connect with that stillness, which I was seeing in our kids.
Mm.
And that was such a gift,
Beautiful. Well, I'd like to read a page that I was really, really moved by. Movements of Magicalness. And remind me after I read this, Deb, to ask about the illustrator, because putting this up,
yes,
like, we've got to talk about the illustrator.
of course.
So this page is called Sam is Sad. Sam sits with his friend Jade. There is so much pain in his heart. Someone very close in his family has passed away. His mum cries all day and his dad gets angry. Sam feels so confused. Jade has the movements of magicalness. They come through her heart, and when she moves with them, she knows a vast empty space full of stillness. She wants to share this with Sam, for him to discover this place and find that love in the big heart where all is good. She knows the deep sadness that he is feeling. She knows that his tears belong to everyone that has ever been unhappy. We all feel it. We all share these human emotions. And there's a beautiful illustration of Sam and Jade. And what I really appreciate about that page in the book is the honesty of the human emotion, and that this is a children's book that is willing to talk about that vulnerable place where children feel sad and where their family around them are having various responses. And I really love this. It almost brings me to tears. It's really gorgeous to see such depth in a child's book. And you'll notice that behind the children is a beautiful presence with a little tear coming out of her eye. So that's one page I'd like to read to you, but I'd like to just pause there and ask Deb about the illustrator, because part of what makes this book so precious is these incredible illustrations.
Yeah, they are absolutely amazing. They really are. And, it's so funny because, like I said, I wrote this book about 7 years ago, and I was like, right, okay, I need to illustrate this. So I tried with photographs of our kids moving through the movements and putting a background in on Photoshop, and it wasn't quite it. I was like, yeah, well, it's okay, but it's not great,
Yeah.
And kept on putting the book on the back burner. And I was like, I need to find an illustrator.
Yeah.
And, I had conversations with certain artists, and they were like, I'm not really a book illustrator. And there was one guy here in Christchurch who paints beautiful love murals all over the walls. And I asked him, and he's like, ask me to paint it round the city and I could do it. Illustrate a book? No, sorry, I can't. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to get this book out. And then I went to a small exhibition and I saw these illustrations of beings in the land around here. And I was like, wow, this artist is interesting. And it turned out that the lady, she's called Barbie Larkins, and she's a beautiful American lady who lives about 10 minutes away from me. So it's taken me years to discover this lady who lives down the road.
Yeah.
And she goes to church, and that is her celebration is discovering God in her way, is through church. And I don't go to church. I used to many years ago, but like daily life and the land and the beings. That's my kind of religion, in a way, if you call it religion.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder how this is going to work together.
Yeah.
And her love of God and my love of God through the land and through we came together. We found a place where we were so inspired by the message in this book and what we could do. And what she knows is the magic and the mystery in the land, because on her website it says she knows about magic and mystery. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We're on the same page here.
Yeah.
And what was so beautiful, it was she wasn't just illustrating my book, which is how we first started off. And that was kind of a little bit tricky until we opened to more of a collaboration. And she would go, well, what about me drawing this? And then I'd go, yeah. And then another character would come in so that I could rewrite the story, bringing in, say, the young man on the surfboard. That was her idea. And I was like, yeah, looking after the oceans and being aware of plastic. And that is such a good idea.
Yeah.
So we worked together, and it was beautiful how it worked. And she's really lovely. And it was the first book she'd ever illustrated. And they're all digital illustrations. It was challenging for her, and we met some edges, but we kept on going there and kept on moving through it and meeting and discovering. And then this beautiful, I just feel that she's absolutely captured the essence of the magic of these movements and of life. Yeah. I was very, very grateful to find her, that life brought me to her,
I'd love to read you the page about the surfer and the environmental aspect. And here's that.
Yeah, that's her favorite.
What I love about this book, Deb, is how you have woven world themes and topics into a children's perspective of that. And so it has this beautiful way that it connects to many children in different places globally. I really love that. So this one's called, you might have to correct my pronunciation, Manaki?
Manakai.
Manakai. Is that Maori?
I actually can't remember where I discovered Manakai. But I was looking for, it might possibly, I actually can't remember, but it was a magical name, and it means something, and I can't remember what it is.
That's all right. Manakai dreams a cleaner world. Manakai loves surfing the waves and meeting the ocean animals. When he's on his surfboard with the wind in his hair and the ocean spray on his face, he is one with the waves and the movements of water. But it breaks his heart to see how much plastic is floating by. It is a danger to his ocean friends, and he knows it is not right to have their home full of so much trash. He wants to see and enjoy a clean ocean. As he sits on his board, he moves the house of great goodness down the front of his body. He's knowing the depth and stillness within. He knows this as the ocean where all is possible. He knows that if we all truly care and value life, we can clean up our world. Can you show us the house of great goodness that he's speaking about in this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier I was talking about this place with Penina, and then we open it up to the house of great goodness. So this is pure potential. This is all there is. There's everything that is in our lives and existence is here.
Yeah.
And then we bring that down. So this is what Manakai is doing. He's bringing this down. And as he's sitting on his board, he's bringing this down. He's knowing all the animals. He's knowing the ocean. He's knowing all of the power of that within him. And this brings the knowledge that all is good. You know, at the deepest level, all is good, and we can find a way because we have incredible love, we have incredible resource, we have incredible intelligence, you know, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it. But in the, you know, there really is this beautiful intelligence that can discover a new heart-based way. And that's what Manakai's knowing in this movement as he brings it down in front of his body. And as I'm moving in this, I can feel the tingling in my body. I can feel like that space opening, where all is good and where all is all is great goodness. And I would love to tell you a quick story. It's funny that you picked that page because a couple of days ago, I think it's called the southern right whale, massive whale, arrived in one of the small bays here in Christchurch with her calf. So she was there for a couple of days and then she moved on. And then last night I was watching a video that a lady had posted from the pier in New Brighton here in Christchurch. And she was filming two surfers who were just catching the waves, and the whale took her calf to meet the surfers. The surfers didn't go to her. She brought her calf to the surfers, and she moved around with them and she moved between them. And it's such a beautiful video because these two surfers are absolutely ecstatic. and this whale is massive, you know, compared to them. But it was like that communion. And you know, a vulnerable mother with her child, she had the trust and the knowledge to bring her offspring to meet these beautiful men who are enjoying the waves and enjoying the ocean. And yeah, it's so beautiful. And I'm knowing, having seen that and go, oh yeah, when you read that page, oh, you know, I knowing that. I love this book. It's great.
It's great. Okay, I want to read another one. We'll see what that sparks. Let's read the one about the cacao trees, because we've already talked about the cacao. The trees share their secrets. Penina loves to stand in the shade of her trees under their branches and large green leaves. She meets them with her movements of magicalness. She feels in her belly and allows the warm glow to grow. Here in the big heart, they are one, she and her trees, with all the insects and the birds and the hot shining sun. The trees share their many secrets with her. She cares deeply for them and their big, colourful cacao pods. Inside each pod are rows of precious gifts for her to share. Penina and her family love their cocoa Samoa and drink it every day. But she worries about the changing weather, the oceans that are rising, and the storms that come and damage her trees. But the trees share with her, do not be afraid, we will find the balance. Here in the stillness, we know the way. We have the gift of cacao, and you have the movements of magicalness.
Brings tears to my eyes.
And the most beautiful picture. Let's see if we can get it. Yeah. Yes. So can you show us this movement? You've called it, did you call it, name this one? No, but can you show us that movement that Penina is moving?
Yeah, so that's near the beginning of the movements of magicalness, and we start with our hands, our palms facing out to the earth, and then we very, very slowly we bring our palms up. I'm trying to get, there you go. Up, and we come to this place here, which we call prayerful hands.
Yeah.
So is, like I said earlier, this is a universal prayer. It's nothing to do with any particular religion, but this is the power of life on earth and life in the universe. So
Yeah.
this is her prayerful hands, and as she stands like this, so this could be right, left, good, bad, black, white, stillness, noise, all of those things come together as one in that place of prayerful hands, so that there is no separation, there's no opposites. Everything is one in this place, and that is pure magic. And that's where she communes with her trees. And when we were in Samoa, we actually danced CosmoForm amongst the trees.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies I was with, she was getting messages from the trees. She's like, oh my God, you're going to think I'm mad. And I'm like, no, not at all. I love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was getting all sorts of messages from the trees about what they like and you know what they're bringing, and if we look after them like this, then they can bring that. And she was like, oh my God, she said she was getting so many downloads, and we were just standing in these around these trees, and it was, you know, loving these big, rich, colorful cacao pods that we knew had these, like, this black gold inside of them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
Una telling a story about the trees speaking, about one of them not, that one particular tree not flourishing, and that's because its roots couldn't reach the creek bed to get water, and they were able to do something about that. I remember her telling me that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I think that trip to Samoa was kind of like the beginning of her knowing this communion, and
Yeah.
then it opened much greater for her when she went to Peru. So she went to the cacao plantations in Peru, and
The Una
yeah.
that
So
we're
you
speaking
that,
about is Cacao Ambassador, the woman who kind of spearheads and is the front woman of this cacao movement.
yeah, and her passion and her love has been the gift to me and to our community and to the world. And you know, she knows, absolutely knows in her, every cell of her being, you know, the power and the love and the beauty of cacao, and how the cacao trees completely love us. You know, they love us. They're bringing their gifts, and you know, this is yeah, this is what life's about. You know, yes, things are difficult sometimes, and yes, we have to get through some challenging times, but you know, there is so much magic in the world. There's so much magic around us and in us, and you know, my hope is that this book opens that for people to discover that. And when you read that page about Sam, I think it's really, really important, particularly with what's taking place around the world at the moment, is we have to meet all of this. We have to meet it. However painful it is, however disturbing it is, if we can meet this in our hearts with love, and Movements of Magicalness can show the way for kids, teenagers, parents, whoever, to meet all this and to discover that, yeah, this is something that's moving, but there is a new way that we can discover through the magic and the mystery of life.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we meet all of this.
Yeah.
And I have days when, you know, I feel like I'm in overwhelm, but I dance the Movements of Magicalness every day, and that really just helps to just bring me back to what I know is the truth, and how to center myself and how to stay in my heart. And even if there's anxiety that's moving, it's like, that's moving on the surface, that's something I have to meet, but the truth is the stillness and the depth inside of me. And that's what's really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to read another page.
Oh.
We are all one. Zara had to leave her house and country. I'll show you a picture of that just before I get going. She has a new place to live in now that she wants to call home. But sometimes people are not very kind. They tell her she is strange and different and that her family do not belong here. So she wants to be accepted for who she is. For the hijab that she wears, it should not matter what she looks like or where she is from. She wants her family to have friends, know love, and be at home. With her movements of magicalness, she is knowing that in the big heart, we are all one, with all our brothers and sisters, black, brown, white, we are one. So,
yeah, that's
Zara
beautiful.
is moving. Can you show us this movement that she's moving?
Yeah. If we go back to Manakai on his surfboard, and he's bringing the house of great goodness down in front of his body. And then when you come, I'm going to stand up actually. When you come to your heart, then the house of great goodness ticks, and that becomes this beautiful, well, in the form we call it chalice to the heart, but it becomes this beautiful heart diamond, heart-shaped diamond. And that is the doorway. That is where the heart, everything comes through our heart, through the door into the earth. And this is the movement that she's doing. Yeah, and that page was actually inspired by, we had a pretty horrendous shooting here a couple of years ago in Christchurch in one of the mosques. And it really touched me deeply. Actually, it touched the whole city deeply. And there was a beautiful movement here where many people brought gifts and flowers and really honored the people that had been affected. And my question around that time was, how are the children, not just Muslim children, but Christian children, Jewish children, children of no faith, just children, how are they dealing with all of this? How does this touch them? And also not just the shootings, but there were so many stories of the people that were in the mosque had actually come as refugees to New Zealand. They had moved away from persecution, from war, from all sorts of things, and they had come to New Zealand and then were faced with this. And that really, really broke my heart, actually, that, wow, why do some people face these incredible challenges in their lives? What is this? And so I was very moved by, and what's been happening over the years with these massive movements of refugees and people who are uprooted and who leave everything that they know behind. They have to leave everything and start anew. And, they even have to leave their identities to a certain extent. And this is a big thing, and for all of us to become aware of this, to become aware of the vulnerability that we face when we leave the known behind. And, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that there is vulnerability and that we can be more open and we can be more compassionate and have empathy for this, because it could happen to any one of us. This could happen to any of us. And that's what Zara brought to the book, was for us to really know that we're not different. We seem different on the surface, but actually we're not different. We're the one love, the one humanity. We're the one family, the one God, the one good, whatever you like to call it. That's what's here. That's what's here, and Zara brings that, hopefully, in her story.
And beautifully illustrated by Barbie.
Yeah.
The big heart encompassing them all.
Yeah.
To illustrate and to give that visual of the oneness that is from the heart. that is
Yeah.
beneath all of the surface of our, you know, our humanity and our individuality. There is a oneness.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, you know, one of the really important messages that I wanted to bring to this book is that, you know, so much of what moves in the world is about division, separation, turning one against another, and it's just, it's not the truth. It's not the truth, because we are all one. We're in the deepest place. We're here to love and to connect. That's why we're here. But we've kind of forgotten it, you know, along the way with all our trials and tribulations and challenges.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is such an important reminder for people. We are all one, you know.
Yeah.
And one thing I just wanted to mention was, with the page about Sam, and you said that there was that presence in the background. The front cover is of Movements of Magicalness. That is she. So she is the one energy that brings the movements of magicalness. She brings that to each one of us through our hearts, through the earth, through everything that moves. And she is that feminine energy that nurtures, that nourishes, that provides, that grows, that births. And so I really wanted to acknowledge that. I mean, it's not belittling he in any way, but it was just to really honor that, the power of she, and the power of that creativity and that unconditional love that's in all of us, that is behind it all. And you'll notice through the book, there's little hints of the essence of she. She is always here. So in each page, you'll see somewhere, whether it's a curl of her hair or, you know, she's here.
Yeah.
Everything.
I have my finger in that page to read.
Oh, do you?
As a final summary, because this is written, this page is maybe the second page, called Who is She? And this underpins, this is the foundation of this book. And from here, then Deb brings up that essence of life, and she weaves that into the pages and into the themes of each page. So who is she? Some say she needs glasses. Some say she just appears like a cat. No one knows when or how. Is it in the night or day, or on a moonbeam, in the streaming of the sunlight, in the twinkle of a star, on the movement of a wave, in the song of a bird, the sparkle of a baby's eye as the center of the storm? Who is she, and where is she from? What is her name, you ask? Luna, Flora, Oceana, Rosa, Maria, or Sky with her blue eyes? You might have to help me with the pronunciation. Poanuma?
Punamu.
Punamu. With
Punamu.
eyes
This is
of...
Punamu.
Ah, the jade.
The jade. It's the New Zealand jade.
With eyes of jade green. Pua, with her many colours. Aurora, full of love. Perhaps she has all these names. Or maybe, just maybe, she has none of these names at all. I say she has been here. She is she. She belongs everywhere and is in all things. She comes with the movements of magicalness to remind us of our beauty, our stillness, and our connection to life. Ah, beautiful. And it's very rare and precious to have this wisdom in a children's book, and for children to be able to access this. It's really special, Deb, and I really appreciate you sharing this with me today. We've been speaking for nearly an hour, and it's been a really precious time, and I'm really, really grateful for your time in promoting your book and for sharing that with me. In Australia here, I have some physical copies of the book, but we're also going to leave you a link below where you can order them if you're watching this from another country. These are available now and postable anywhere within the world. And please do connect with Deb. We'll put some links below with her Facebook page and her email, and reach out to Deb and get a bunch of these books. Don't get one, like get 10. 10. And give them to your grandkids and your kids and your nieces and your nephews and your neighbors, and share this beautiful message, because this has a message of many, many levels and layers. There is the mystical message of she, but then that's woven through themes of our humanity that children really need to be able to contact and connect with adults to speak about. They need to be able to speak about their emotions, the ocean and pollution and the environment, and diversity and segregation and refugees and many of the other themes that are in this book. So I'm super grateful that you persisted for 7 years, and I've been with you on retreats where we've talked about this book. And you do have a website now, don't you?
Yes, it's actually www.movementsofmagicalness.com.
Yay!
And it's a very simple website.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can connect with us there. There's a link to buy the book. And also, I actually looked on something called Book Finder, and it's Finda, I think. And Book Finder, if you go onto that website and you put Movements of Magicalness in, it actually comes up with all the places that stock the book.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's Amazon, there's Booktopia in Australia, there's Barnes and Noble, there's Waterstones in the UK. So it can be bought online.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd really like to thank you, Lea, for being so inspired by this book and for inviting me to this chat. And I love how you're loving it and how you're you have the energy to bring the book out. And that's actually what I need, because I can write and I have these ideas and I can love and I can share, but to actually, do the marketing and the promotion is not my forte.
Yeah.
So anyone who can support in that way would be fantastic to get this out. And I actually have a company that I'm going to be working with shortly to bring some t-shirts out.
Oh, so, fabulous. And you were talking about some cards as well.
Yes, I have cards. I have a set of cards. I think it's about 12 cards. They're the movements. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, at the end of the book, there's the instructions on how to move through Movements of Magicalness. So you meet all the characters and they take you through
yes, I see that.
How to learn.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll also drop a link to my video of the Movements of Magicalness, also called CosmoForm, so that you can very clearly follow along with that video.
Yeah,
CosmoForm takes approximately 5 to 6 minutes to dance. We say dance, and you can do that seated or standing and anywhere at any time. So it's very accessible in that way, and it looks like you're dancing. You can do it in public. It looks a bit like you're doing Tai Chi, or so it's something that's very, very appealing and beautiful to watch. So
well, we took it into the Christchurch women's prison many years ago. In fact, it was around 2012 we took it in for I think it was about a year or two. And in fact, it must have been about 2010 that we first started taking it in. And no, it can't have been, because it didn't come to the earth till 2012.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Time is such a strange thing for me. But the women in there, it was extraordinary. At first, they were a bit kind of like, oh, yeah, what is this? But there was, as we moved in it, it was like, wow, I know this. you know, there was something very sacred. I know this. And it's that you connect with inside of yourself. That's like, you know, this is who we are. Of course, you know it. You know, it's who we are at the deepest level. And it just opens all the doors to discover that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Deb. Thank you for bringing this to the children.
Yeah.
Very, very honored. Thank you for being
Yeah.
here. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Much love.
Much love.